I I want to talk about something that we don't address enough. Most people start therapy with some specific counseling goals. They're meeting weekly, they're going through the healing and change process. Eventually, the counseling goals are accomplished or revised, or new goals are added due to life's circumstances. Over time, weekly sessions transition to bi weekly sessions. And because you have learned to generalize what you are learning in therapy, you eventually transition to monthly maintenance therapy sessions, right? And then at some point, the sessions become repetitive or shorter, and you wonder what is after therapy, right? I think that some people they think, oh, I just go to therapy forever. No, coaching, coaching comes during or after therapy, to be fair, right? So while in therapy with me, I have referred several clients to see executive coaches if they're ready to take a different step in their career, especially if they are in positions of leadership at work. I refer them to career coaches if they need help changing careers, right? So, coaches, that's an example. So, hi, my name is Dr. Shemaya Vaughn. I am a personal life coach for women. My channel is for women recovering from childhood trauma who want to stop surviving and start thriving in their life, right? So you should listen to this channel to hear my thoughts on how women, transgender women, gender non conforming people, right? Gender expansive people, anyone along the gender spectrum with a feminine mindset, they can choose a new path today and start creating a life they love. Now, although I am a professor and a licensed therapist, the work I am doing here is for personal coaching services, right? It's educational. I hope it's healthy. I hope it's helpful in changing your thought process and mindset. So, some of you listening, you do not need talk therapy. You need a few coaching sessions to implement your action plan. So today's video is about what happens after therapy, answering the question, where do I go from here? After therapy, it's a good idea to revisit the reasons you started therapy. How have you made changes? How do you continue to make changes in your life to keep the progress going to improve your life, right? What tools from therapy are you using to center your needs, to decenter work, to enhance identities outside of work? What have you learned about your emotions and feelings that help you navigate romantic relationships, friendships, professional relationships? What have you learned about changing your thoughts to view things that happen to you and around you that have nothing to do with you, right? Or outside of your control. What behavior patterns have you picked up that helps you relax more in all areas of life so you're not carrying around that tension all the time? And then what behavior patterns have you dropped because they are no longer serving you? That's what we do after therapy. We take an assessment. These are questions designed to acknowledge your growth after therapy. Most of us that transition from therapy either use therapy as PRN or as needed sessions, right? Like a tune-up for a car. Or we meet coaches designed to help us with something very specific, like a career coach or a life coach or a wellness coach. Or we build a community or join a community that provide natural supports for human issues, right? Depression, because something negative happened, which is not necessarily the major depressive disorder diagnosis, pathology, just you're sad because something sad happened. Um, Anxiety because of the news headlines, loneliness because of the social isolation of life. Community can change your mood because there's people around you helping you continue the healing process. Community can decrease your responsibilities by sharing chores with you. And community can certainly alleviate loneliness by providing companionship. I want you to think about that. When you think about community and doing everything by yourself, it's important to acknowledge that you actually want people around you to make life more enjoyable. Do not feel like every stressor requires therapy once you have completed a round of therapy, like 6 months, 1 year, years. It is okay to trust your own response and wisdom. You know the answer to all of your questions. You know the solution to all of your problems. A therapist teaches you the why and the how and provides emotional support so that you can say the thing or do the thing. But deep down, you know what needs to be done, what needs to be said. When you stay in therapy for years, you are not working on the same stuff. Each therapy experience is it's personal growth, it's healing for different parts of you. So, for example, when I first started therapy, I was a struggling single mother, right, of a toddler. My emotional life was in disarray because I was worried. I'm raising my child in my own way despite the criticism from others. I thought that was the best way though. Like, let me do things the way I've learned how to do them. And by learning, I mean I was reading books on child development. And then I already had my own childhood experience, and I knew what I liked about it and what I did not want to happen to my child. I knew how I wanted to raise her. I had read a lot of books. I had taken a lot of classes. Like I said, I had my own childhood experience that I was course correcting. I knew all of this, but needed support to parent in a way and heal in a way that served my two-person family because I insisted that we were a family even though there was no nuclear family portion to it, if you know what I mean. So yes, a single mother can call their families a family. We do not need a partner to call ourselves families. If we own the phrase single parent family, it makes our decisions feel more flexible because we are not waiting on another person to validate our decisions or to make them final. Being flexible helps with both parenting and healing, and you will need to be even more flexible once you are thriving. More self-disclosure, I was also seeing a therapist to deal with childhood trauma, right? So we have to take turns in therapy. The connection between childhood trauma and parenting in a way that you were not parented is evident to others, but we can't see it. We feel it, right? So therapist, especially my therapist, was helping me do something about the feelings, the memories, and the trauma responses that follow us into adulthood and to our own parenting experience. So that's the beginning of my therapy journey. I have also circled back to a therapist for different life transitions. The empty nest, right? Eventually, that toddler kept having birthdays and moved out, deciding to leave a job that provided a comfortable salary, but too many scoops of gendered racism was another stint of therapy. Going no contact with my family was another stint of therapy. Trouble within friendship groups or ending friendships, another stint of therapy. relationship troubles, right? Just how to navigate romantic relationships. Any life struggle, I race back to therapy for support because I did not have to carry everything alone. We do not have to carry everything alone. There is an entire profession built as professional support people. You know how we have those emotional support animals? Therapists are kind of like emotional support people, right? Um, with training, with training. But between therapy or after therapy or even during therapy, we sometimes need another type of support. So we need guidance and accountability to get to the thriving part of our lives where we see the outcome of therapy in real time. I I have an example for you. So my daughter and I had a hard time. We had a hard conversation based on some therapy I had because she was, a college student struggling to balance college freedom and social freedom, like academic responsibilities and socializing, right? That college freedom part and academic progress. It was the hardest conversation I had to have with the person I loved most in the world. But if the relationship, if that parent adult child dynamic had continued as it was, I knew resentment was coming and it would ruin our relationship. It would ruin the mother daughter relationship that we had going on. And I had worked so hard to build that with her. So in the end, we have this hard conversation. I'm in therapy getting support for saying things that need to be said that I still don't want to say. She took time away from college, right? She paused her college education and she joined AmeriCorps, right? Um, and if you don't know what AmeriCorps is, it is like Peace Corps but local, but for the U.S., right? It's a national program. The text I received halfway through her experience was, "You are my best friend. I don't care who knows. I don't care what other people say." I was so proud of myself for having that hard conversation with the emotional support of a therapist, and I was proud of her for acknowledging her role in our mother daughter relationship. Yes, therapy is useful and helpful, and there is life after therapy as well. So, coaching is such a great way to hone in on one specific area you need ongoing support for and dive into the coaching. Coaches will allow some past life experiences to enter the room because they provide context for present day behavior and desired future experiences. Coaches will not unpack things with you, um, even if, like me, they have the psychological training. It can be inappropriate for coaches without that training to dive deep into past psychological issues. And our licensing boards don't like us to cross the wires too much, right? So, to solve for this, some people see both a therapist and a coach at the same time, right? So, you're working with your coach and some stuff comes up that caught you off guard, you take it to the therapist, right? So, you and your coach can stay on path. So, there's no quick way to heal. It's just not. You can't go through life quickly. You have to take your time. You will need to create space and financial budgeting to fully benefit from therapy. And then coaching is like the dessert, right? The reward after the big meal. I like that analogy, I think, right? So don't worry. Um, you do not have to understand all of this perfectly on your own. If you are talking with a therapist, they will let you know when it is time for a coach. And if you are talking to a coach, they will let you know when it's time for a therapist. A good therapist does this. A good coach does this. They provide the guidance for you. Do you still have questions about this difference between therapists and coaches? please drop your question or your comment in the chat and I will respond. I'm hoping this answers at least some of your questions today.